Hello and welcome to this episode of the World Cup show from the Scotsman. We're talking after Scotland got a much needed and precious 1-0 victory over the Haitians in Boston last night. And as I said, Scotland are currently top of the group. Qualification hopes enhanced. And I'm joined today by our chief football writer, Alan Patillo, and Catherine Hay, who is there for the Scotsman. It's mingling with the fans. It's been quite the past 24 hours. I'll come to you first, Alan, because you were in the stadium in Foxborough last night. What an incredible event. It came across on TV spectacularly. What it was like being there. Tell us.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. An experience for the ages, as you said earlier, Mark, for sure. Just the... it's history unfolding in front of you, wasn't it? I was there at the last time Scotland were at a World Cup match against Morocco in St Etienne in 1998. So it really felt like, it felt like cathartic, a very cathartic moment for those of us of a certain age to be there again, see Scotland finally take that stage again. And what, I mean, you saw it on TV. What a magnificent stage it was in terms of a stadium. Just looked fantastic. The setting really was great. I know there was a few reservations prior, sort of regarding the location of the stadium. So far out, 28 miles outside Boston, and it was a trek to get there. But the Tartan Army they're an adventurous lot. They're a resilient lot, and they managed to get there by hook or by crook. There was a wonderful scene. I don't know, Mark, if you remember, I sent the video of as we were pulling into the stadium car park. There was just outside the stadium, obviously, where traffic was very heavy, and there was that line of must have been about 10 of those classic yellow American school buses, just all packed with Tartan Army members hanging out of the window and singing songs. And it was quite a sight to behold. I think an enterprising Tartan Army member had managed to hire a whole lot of these school buses to transport the fans out. So it was it was quite a scene, I have to say. And the game itself, just even when the teams came out at the start, it was very like gladiators, wasn't it? They all sort of marched out, and every player in a 26-man squad was sort of standing around the centre circle at the start. I just thought it was just it was pure theatre. And when the game started, well, it was nervy, wasn't it? You have to accept that. It was a very nervy occasion, very exacting in terms of energy levels. But Scotland got there in the end, as we know, and we'll take 3 points, won't we?
Absolutely. John McGinn's words were so true. It was a must-win for Scotland, and look, they got the victory. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about where it leaves Scotland in a bit. But Catherine, you had the job of running around Boston, spending the match with the Scotland fans. What was it like when Scotland scored that goal through John McGinn? I mean, I imagine the celebrations must have been pretty extraordinary in the bars and fan zones across Boston.
Yeah, it was amazing being in Boston for that win. I was in a pub called the Dubliner, which since arriving in Boston on Thursday has been absolutely booming with Tartan Army fans the whole last few days. And when McGinn scored, I mean, you could just feel the ground shake, and almost felt like the fans were going to touch the ceiling. They were jumping so high. It was incredibly crowded, and there were pints kind of flying. But yeah, it was an understandable reaction, obviously, to Scotland winning its first goal in its first World Cup in 28 years. So you hear yourself say that. It is such a moment worthy of celebration like that. But yeah, the celebration spilled out onto the streets afterwards as well. There were lots of people that couldn't actually get into the fan zones, all the pubs, just because of the sheer quantity of people, and locals as well, not just the fans, but locals wanting to join in the celebration and the fun and the World Cup. And so out on the streets, there were just, crowds gathered as well. And they were then joined by people after they fled from their various venues watching the game on screens. But yeah, Boston, I think it will be a memorable evening for the Tartan Army, and also people living in Boston, not just because of the incredible score, but just the atmosphere as well that was created by the fans here.
Do you think, Catherine, that Boston's going to quieten down over the next couple of days because Scotland don't play again until Friday, or is this just going to be one big week-long party which is going to be led by the Scots?
I mean, with the amount that have been marching around Boston, I feel like it's probably going to just continue, but I'll be here on the ground to document and see whether that's the case or not. But yeah, a lot of the fans who I've spoken to said that they're staying here, they're going to the Morocco game. One or two have said that they just came out for, one game and they're flying home just because of the costs. That's been certainly something mentioned a lot among fans, is just how expensive. I mean, some of the journeys they've made over here are just insane. I think one man took 10 different flights. And another two friends who I met yesterday are staying up in Rhode Island and are flying in for the matches. So, just because accommodation is cheaper up there. And so it's kind of amazing the effort that the fans have gone through to get here. So I reckon they probably will be partying all week.
Quite something. Alan, for you, you've got a flight as well in a few hours. You're heading back to Scotland's base camp of Charlotte. Scotland obviously getting a well-earned, you would imagine, day off and travel day back. A lot of talk now is about where this win leaves Scotland in the longer term. Right now, we're currently top of Group C because Brazil and Morocco drew 1-1 in New York. But the reality is, Alan, that Morocco and Brazil are several levels up from Haiti. Where do you assess Scotland's qualification hopes after the first round of fixtures?
Yeah, we're discussing that last night on the way back, and it's a real sort of whether your cup's half full or half empty scenario. I think in the first instance we just had to celebrate a win. They're such precious items, aren't they, for Scotland? Just 5 now in World Cup history, stretching back to 1954. So yeah, you did have to feel privileged to be here to see that, to see a first winner since Italia 36 years. I was still at school when Scotland last won a World Cup. It's quite extraordinary. So that, I think that was the first, as Steve Clarke stressed last night, that was the first task: get the win. Obviously, a lot of people are querying whether a 1-goal victory is enough. Is going to be enough. That it does make that nightmare scenario slightly more likely, isn't it, of Scotland perhaps failing to qualify and goal difference, depending on what happens in these next 2 games. But they've got to go to the game on Friday night with a good heart, I think. Obviously, there'll be a lot of chat over the next few days about how Steve Clarke is going to approach it, Mark, in terms of his line up and what's he going to do tactically, whether he's going to perhaps bring in 3 centre halves, how he's going to, I guess, going to play one up front. I think that was something that was signalled by the fact he took off Shea Adams before Lawrence Shankland. I think you just try and preserve Adams's energy ahead of that Friday night game back here in Boston. Another strength sapping night, I think, in store. But yeah, it's all going to play out, isn't it? And I mean, a lot of Mark, we talked about it earlier as well. Whether you can tell me whether 4 points guarantees you a place in the knockout stage or not. I think that's become a contentious issue, hasn't it? What do you think? What's your feelings?
My feeling is that it's too early to say if 4 points is going to be enough. I mean, you'd be very, very unfortunate if you finished third on 4 points and didn't get through. But the reality is you have to wait and see what happens in the other 11 groups. There's a lot of football still to be played. Some groups haven't even started yet. And if you look at Group A, for example, there's a likelihood that 3 teams could finish on 6 points. If you look at Group B, they're all on 1 point. And you could end up having more than 2 teams on 4 points. So it's not cut and dried by any stretch of the imagination, but I think you would hope that a point would be enough. It would certainly give you a really strong chance. Alan, I remember you and I sat in a cafe last week before you flew out, and we said that the fear was that beating Haiti by 1 goal might not be enough, and it puts a bit more pressure on the games against Morocco and Brazil. I want to ask you before I go back to Catherine, do you think that Brazil's draw against Morocco is a good or bad thing for Scotland? There's an argument that some would say, well, it opens the group up, but others say that means that now both Brazil and Morocco will have to beat us and won't rest players. Where do you sit on that one?
Yeah, interesting one. I think I would prefer Brazil to be home and hosed by the last game when we play us, and that was the kind of expectation, wasn't it? That they might be playing a relatively understrength team against Scotland in Miami if Scotland still needed something, which of course is still possible, very possible. So yeah, I think I might have preferred say Brazil to have won that game yesterday, and which would make Friday night. But Friday night is an almighty game anyway. But it really will define Scotland's World Cup campaign. And we talked about World Cup final against Haiti. This is the next World Cup final. Just 5 days later.
It's something to look forward to. Catherine, before we let you both dash off, what was the feeling like with the Tartan Army afterwards? Is there a sense of real optimism now that Scotland are going to make it through? Or is there still a lingering feeling of dread that while we have won our first match, it might not be enough? What were the fans saying afterwards?
I mean, certainly before the game, there was a lot of optimism because just I think the feeling of being here in the US, being at Scotland's first World Cup game in almost 3 decades. Yeah, a lot of the fans I spoke to said they'd, booked a ticket and accommodation for the victory march in Glasgow for when Scotland win the World Cup. So yeah, I think it was just because I don't know. One fan said to me yesterday, "Energy is everything," and then sort of means that that leads to the team winning and or something to that effect. And yeah, so I think there's just this kind of it's almost like a trait of the Tartan Army is just to be optimistic and positive and just make sure that they're saying to everyone that Scotland's going to do really well and Scotland's going to win. Obviously we saw that last night, which was incredible, but yeah, I think some of the predictions I've asked, I think people are less confident that we'll beat the next 2 teams, but maybe draw. That's on the cards according to some fans. But I don't know, I'd say that everyone's still really positive, and a lot of people have said even just a win is even just being here is enough. It's incredible, and they're so proud of the team. So yeah, it feels like Scotland's kind of won already in a lot of different senses, even if it isn't the final game.
And let's be honest, it's only just started this weekend. It's the beginning of what could be a really special couple of weeks for Scotland. Alan, you've got a flight to catch. You're heading back down to Charlotte, as I said earlier. Catherine, I hope you get some rest. I know it's been a pretty whirlwind 48 hours since you arrived in Massachusetts. You're in Boston all week and then making the journey down to Miami. So we'll catch up again tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on this episode. We'll have more from myself, Alan, Catherine, and the team next week as we enter a crucial phase in Scotland's World Cup. Goodbye and get some sleep.